Hello, I'm Nick Doyle and I'm a Managing Director in Kroll, a division of Duff & Phelps, and the Securities Management Lead for Europe, the Middle East and Africa. I wanted to take a moment to talk to you about the future of evaluating risk and what this might mean for how people look at risk in the future. And how does the human factor and confirmation bias impact risk? So what is confirmation bias? An example of confirmation bias is where we sit down and discuss this thing called a pandemic that hypothetically hasn't happened yet. And I say, look, there's all this medical evidence that says this could happen to us. And worse than that, we're really vulnerable. Look at the population numbers and look how people travel in the UK and Europe. But you say yes, but it's not very likely to happen. And if it does happen, we're going to be really quick to respond to it. We're going to identify it, we're going to isolate it, and we're going to respond to it. So it's never going to be as bad as you think. So yes, we are vulnerable, but we have reaction time. So where confirmation bias comes in is where I start thinking, you have a point, and I start listening more to you than I did to the evidence. So confirmation bias is where you get swayed by what everyone else does, or by human nature. So instead of being completely objective and saying I will follow the science in terms of pandemic, or it could be another business impact data relevant for your business or sector, you begin to bring in reasons why you shouldn't listen to the data. And you assess it's not a problem for you. And you speak to your colleagues, and as a group you believe it's not a problem for you, and you start confirming as a group, actually we don't need to do anything about that. These things are not going to happen. And you start convincing yourself that your validation is right, and the moment you get the group to think around it's never going to happen, you get reinforcement of decision making. Where we didn't think this was going to happen last year, so what's changed? So when we come to reevaluate risk, you are never evaluating risk from a fresh set of factors. Human nature comes into play. Confirmation bias comes into play. You try to convince yourselves that you were right before, so let's keep the same rules. I'm using the coronavirus as an example here, but organisations need to re-examine their processes around risk management. Not the process of collecting the data on risk, but the process of evaluating the risk to avoid confirmation bias, where people identify that something could happen, but then create rules that mean they don't have to do anything about it. It's important to add, they also think it's reasonable to say you can't do something about everything, but you could do a little bit about most things, and some of those things overlap, and that's called preparedness. It's taking a fresh look at risk and trying to make sure that we haven't undervalued some of the risks that could impact your business, and deciding maybe we should do a little bit more. Kroll can assist companies in the re-evaluation of risk that can impact your business and help build your resilience. This can be done remotely, and it can be done dynamically. Ultimately, the more prepared you are as a business, the better chance you have of enjoying a future impact event. If you wish to talk more about how Kroll can help you, please do not hesitate to contact me via the Kroll website.